to this video where I'm gonna go through how to create an interactive Excel dashboard, and you can see this is an interactive dashboard, as if I change what I'm looking for, the data changes with it. So let's get started. The first thing to do when creating a dashboard is to outline how you'd like the dashboard to look like. So we're just gonna do that. So if we create a new sheet, and then we just call it dashboard, and then we start working on the outline. So I want to change the color first of all. So the first thing I'm going to do is just remove all of the grid lines, and you can just do that by going to view and untick the grid lines box. And then I want a darker background for the dashboard, so I'm gonna go with dark gray. I think that will work out nicely. And just so we don't go into the white space, I'm gonna put a border, and I'm gonna use thick borders. So yeah, so we already have a starter, and let's just add something for the title. We'll add a shape where we're gonna insert the title later. So I'm just gonna put it here, and it should fit in nicely. I'll just change the color to something closer to the background, maybe a little bit darker. And I'm just gonna change the outline to black. And just to make it a little bit nicer, I'm gonna put a shadow, and we can update the name later. And another thing we can insert is something for the menu, and the idea is later here we can add some slicers, so we can play around with the data and understand what different views look like. So again, we'll just make this darker, and we'll make the outline black, and again, just to make it look a bit nicer, we'll use the outer shadow background. Actually, maybe this could be a little bit lighter, so we can just do this. And there we go. And I'll just add two shapes for the KPIs, and we'll just take another of those rectangular shapes, and we'll just put no fill and keep the outlines black. And again, just to make it a little bit nicer, add some shadow. And we can copy this and paste it here, so they're just next to each other. That should be good for now. So the next step is to work on a pivot table. So we just go to data, and we click anywhere in the table, and we insert the pivot table into a new sheet. I'm just going to rename this into pivot table. And we're going to start pulling the data needed. If you want an introduction into pivot tables, I've already created a video. You can check my channel and see. So let's pull the basics. So the first data point I'm gonna pull is year and revenue, and then we have the revenue for every year. And let's just create another pivot table for units sold. So we'll just copy this here, and we'll remove revenue and bring in units sold. A good insight would be the number of in-store customers and the customers who bought their cars online. So to do that, we will have to remove year and then go to sales channel and count for units sold. So yeah, so sales channel should be on rows and units sold should be in the values. And this will give us an insight of how much is coming from in-store and how much is coming from online. Or another way we can do it is go to sales channel and put count. And this should give us another insight. Another interesting insight that we could add into our dashboard is the sales by month. So I'm just gonna copy this because we already have the revenue here. And instead of year, I'm just gonna have months here. And yeah, so we have it for every month now. And since we are looking at sales in European countries, it would be good to have an insight of what are the best performing countries and the worst performing countries. So I'll just copy this pivot table, paste it here, and remove month and put country. And let's say I'm looking for the top 5. So I'm just gonna go here in top 10, change this to top 5. And I'll just copy this here and instead of top 5 we'll look at the bottom 5 and we'll have this reflect in the dashboard so the dashboard gives us insights. And let's just add slicers for the data. So I'm just gonna have year be a slicer and another slicer I'd like to have is by the card model. So add both as slicers, and if we click on the slicers we can see that it only affects one of the tables. So what we're gonna do is right click on the slicer, report connections, and select all tables. So this way if we click on the slicer it updates the data on all tables. We're gonna do the same for year, report connections, and then click on all of the data. I'm later gonna move the slicers to the dashboard, so just to make it look nicer already, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go on slicer, go to design, I'm gonna click on this one, and then this one. And then I'm just gonna go on slicer settings, remove the display header so it looks nicer when we add it to the dashboard. So again, slicer settings, remove the display header, and there we go. The next step is to create a summary sheet, which will be our reference sheet for all of the data in the pivot table and the sheet that is used to connect to the dashboard. So I'm just gonna create a summary sheet. Or I'll just call it summary. And the first thing I'm gonna do is total. So this is the summary sheet I have created, and it's not worth going through how I created it because it's not very complicated. It's basically referencing the pivot table to the summary sheet and having all of the essential information. And the thing is, it helps when the data gets updated. And what do I mean when the data gets updated? Since we have slicers, the data will get updated, and this will reflect in the summary sheet, and afterwards will reflect in the pivot table. So to ensure that the correct data is being pulled, it's very helpful to have the summary sheets, and it also avoids having any errors. with that, we can finish off our dashboard. So to do that, what we can start off is by adding a title. So we can just simply call this Porsche sales dashboard, considering the data we have. And we'll just put it here. To make it nicer, we'll put it in bold and change the text, the font to Arial, and maybe make it a little bit bigger. I think it's better like this. And just so it fits in, we will put no fill and remove the outline. Then we will add a text box for the KPIs. So we have one here for sales. So what we do is we click on the text box, and in the formula we just go to the summary sheet and we put one for total sales, and we copy this and we will do another one for units. And since I know that it's just one under, I'll just put it here. And again, I'll just do no fill, change it to bold, make it a little bit bigger, make it Arial. It already looks a lot better. And then no outline. And again, repeating the process. Arial, I'll just check. So put it 20 so that they are consistent. And in the middle. I just go back to the summary tab and I want to look. So I just want to create some charts. So the first one I'm going to do is the one for the sales channel, and here I want pie charts. I'm just going to create the pie charts quickly, and here I will do in-store versus online sales. And I don't really like the blue, so I'm just gonna change it to light shades of gray. I think that's better, but you can change it to whatever you want. And I'm just gonna go and copy it here, and just to make it nicer, I will remove the fill, and then we can put it somewhere here, and maybe make this bold so it looks a little nicer. And again, change this to Arial, make it slightly smaller, and there we go. Remove the outline. Then another chart we can create is the bar chart, since we have the monthly sales, which is here. So we'll just click on here, and then if we do recommended charts, it probably have bar charts. So as you can see, we have them here. Just to make it nicer, let's remove the lines, change the color of the bars to something different, maybe add an outline, and we'll just call this sales by month. Again, to make it look nicer, we'll just make it bold, change this to Arial, and maybe make the title a little smaller. So we go to the dashboard, and we can paste it here. Remove the fill to no fill, and then we can make it a little smaller because I want to put 2 tables here, and this can go a little higher. And we can have this go a little higher and this a little higher. I can actually make this a bit smaller, and yeah, and move the outline. So it's starting to look good. What I'm gonna do is create 2 tables here for the top sales and the bottom sales. So I'm gonna create, I'll just do it here and call it top 5 sales by country. And here I will do bottom. I forgot to add the 5 in the previous one, but I'll just do that now. And just to make it more colorful, we can change this to this. And now we can simply connect the data points. So we have, so we're just gonna have to fix that quickly. You can select F4 to remove the dollar signs and then move it. And we can do the same for the bottom 5. Again, we select countries. We remove the just to make it nicer, I'm gonna copy the format and have it reflected here. We'll make a little table. Maybe this is too big, so we can just and we can do the same here. And it looks much better now. And just to make it look a little better, we can use conditional formatting, use data bar. Since these are the top 5 sales, we'll use green, and since these are the bottom 5, we will use red. I'll just correct the shapes. Okay, and the last 2 steps are to add some slicers. So we already have some slicers here, and we can just copy and paste them. And another one for year. We need to make sure that the slicers fit in well, and to do that we're gonna have to go to slicer, and we're just gonna duplicate this because it looks good. What we're trying to do is remove the white background because it doesn't look nice with the dashboard. So we just select whole slicer and we can do new slicer for dash, and we can just do format. And what we want to do is make sure that the slicer we can't remove the color because it doesn't work, but we can ensure that it matches the color of the background. So this is the color, and now what we do is we just click on the custom, and we can see that it's a bit darker, but that's fine because we can modify it later. And here we also make sure that we select custom. So we just go here, and we'll just click on the shape to make sure that we select the correct color, and we can see it's the one before the last. So we go to slicer, and then we click on modify, format, and it should be this one. And now it will look better. So the only thing we have to do is actually remove the outline, which I forgot to do. So border none, and now they should fit in quite well. We'll just clear the filter, and as you can see, the data changes based on the slicer, which is what we want. And just to make it look a bit nicer, we're gonna add titles for the KPIs.